Hi everyone, this is Alex Staropoli from Rhapsody of Fire, and you're reading Via Nocturna.
Hi Alex, thanks for your availability. It's really a true honor to be doing this interview with you. I'm really a huge fan of Rhapsody of Fire and what you did throughout your career. Now, Glory for Salvation has just been released. How have the reactions been until now?
Really good. I have to say the reaction are really good, and we are really happy after 2 years in making this this last studio album. It's a relief, and of course we are very happy that the fans can finally hear it, and the response is pretty great, I must say.
I myself enjoy very much the album. I think it's one of your best of your career, especially since, at least since Frozen Tears of Angels, it's definitely your best album. But when comparing this album with other albums of your career, one of the most shocking changes is that you don't have a symphonic intro. Why did you decide to not include one?
Well, because I consider this this trilogy, this saga, in fact, as a trilogy, and the intro I created for the Eighth Mountain is the intro of the trilogy. So that's why I didn't feel the necessity to write another intro for Glory for Salvation, despite the beginning of Son of Vengeance. It's a nice introduction that is, it can be seen musically as a short intro to the album as well.
And this Nephilim's Empire saga, it was the first story, the first saga that you wrote for Rhapsody of Fire. Was it hard for you to write it?
Well, yeah, I didn't write the story. This was there was this ongoing discussion with me and Robbie De Micheli, the guitar player, to see if we were, you know, willing to do another story, to write another saga. And he proposed me the Nephilim Empire saga, and I liked the idea, and so he wrote the story. And then when the moment came, when all the music was written completely, all the music, all the vocal lines, etc., I gave everything to Giacomo, and he wrote all the lyrics based on the story. So I have a lot of tasks already, while so I mean composing, arranging, producing, and recording myself a lot of instruments because I want to be in the process. But I don't write lyrics yet, so I prefer this to be done by Giacomo.
And which are the adventures that the hero the adventures that the hero must surpass this time in this album?
Well, this is the second chapter of the Rhapsody of Fire saga. At this time of the story, the hero opens his eyes and realizes the reality around him, and he understands that he will have to fight with all his strength to accomplish all his goals. And I must say that there's no real connection with daily life or society. I'm saying this because a lot of people is asking that. But at the same time, there is a metaphor that we like to prepare and to drive people to believe more in themselves and to make them realize that every one of us is a second chance. So this part of the story is about realizing that every one of us is a second chance, as long as we are working hard for it.
And as you said, the lyrics were all written by Giacomo. Did he have the chance to give any personal touch to the story?
Yes, of course, because the story that the guidelines, what Robbie wrote, it's just guidelines. Then it's the work and responsibility of Giacomo to describe the different moments of the story for each of the songs. So there is a lot of, I must say that I'm really proud of what Giacomo did, because he really did obtain a really strong poetic touch to the lyrics. So yes, there are metal songs with metal, style lyrics, but they're very poetic. And I'm sure it's because we are Italian, and this helps a lot in the creation of lyric, especially when we are talking about the Italian version, for example.
Okay, now moving back to the sound of the album. It's notorious that in your last albums you have been losing a big part of the symphonic elements that you have always had in your career. Does this show your evolution as a writer?
Well, the main point is that you have to decide what do you want to hear, and I'm talking like as a producer and as a audio enthusiast. So the point is, do I want to overload every song with 1,000 tracks of whatever, keyboards, orchestra, instruments, harmonies, and 10 different melodies running at the same time? Or I want the music sounds like it's a band plus some orchestral elements, and you can really hear everything. So for many years in the past, we pushed a lot on this multi-melodic, let's say the polyphonic approach. And despite we always liked it, I find it that at some point it can be tiring for the ears, and it misses clarity. So if you mix an album with so many orchestral tracks, you have to put down the drums, you have to sacrifice the guitars, the bass become, something you remember from the past. So it doesn't make any sense. This is an heavy metal band. So, but I must say that thanks to the Sebastian Seb Leverman mix, which is so incredibly powerful and yet so defined, now I think I have really the freedom to work a bit more on the orchestration again, because the quality of the mix reached a so incredible quality level that I can go back and create more muscular arrangements, if you know what I mean. So it always depends. There are different things to consider, So at this time, I'm really happy with the result.
And you should be, especially because the mix of Steve Leverman is very, as we said, very well done. You can hear all the details throughout the song. And again, you decided to work with him. Do you feel like you can show the best version of yourselves?
Absolutely. You can write the best song in the world. If you mix it, it sounds like shit. It doesn't. It's really, it puts your song down. I mean, so the improvement that Seb did between The Eighth Mountain and Glory for Salvation is incredible. He raised the bar to such a level. I was surprised, and he was surprised as well, because such an improvement in just 2 years. Yes, the technology may go on, and Seb for sure did some more experience, but the gap is incredible, and this gives me the confidence to compose with new songs, and for the next album with more, more confidence, more enthusiasm, and maybe more orchestration. Because at this time, I'm really into the fact, as I just said, that it's easier to hear everything. And sometimes I thought, well, here in this place I could have added some more instruments because there is so much space, and I'm not used to that, So now I'm in a point where I can write more complex layers of orchestration.
And I'm looking forward to that. Eternal Snow is a short narrated interlude that honestly reminded me of the times when Christopher Lee did those narrations for you. Did you consider inviting any renowned artist or actor to make those narrations?
Well, there is always the idea that, well, you know, after Christopher Lee, it's really hard to to move on and to find somebody else. So having used Christopher Lee for so many records for so many years, is like made a so strong statement, and the sound of his voice was so relevant for our saga and our story that yeah, at this time we decided to have Giacomo doing this little narration. For the future, I don't know, but you know, I would like to of course, to do something in that direction. But it always depends. You need the right voice, not only the right character. You know.
And who do you have in mind to do those narrations?
I cannot say that yet.
Okay. Magic Signs as usual in your ballads, three different versions: English version, Italian version, and a Spanish version. Why do you always make these three versions of the song?
Well, sometimes we do four versions. In the previous album, we did also the ballad in French. But you know, it's first of all, it's a gift that we want to do to our fans. In fact, the three songs are in the album, so they are not sold separate, if you know what I mean. So if there are some fans that like to enjoy their own native tongue and listen to the song, it's for me it's a pleasure for us to do it, and I hope fans will enjoy it. And for sure, Giacomo has a lot of excitement doing this, because for a singer it's always a nice challenge to sing in different languages, and those songs are not just mere translation from the English. It's really, we took the time and created brand new lyrics for every language we do.
But again, the English version is the main one. Why don't you keep the Italian version as the main one?
Well, if you like the Italian version as the main one, you can consider that. In fact, the video clip we just released, it's Un ode per l'eroe, which is the Italian version. So you see, we are focusing on the Italian this time more than in the past again. So this is really nice.
And what about other songs written in Italian? In the future, maybe?
Yes. I think in every album we do one song in Italian. If it's a must now, we like to do it. And I must say that we also do in every album from the Eighth Mountain, we do one song, the single song. We did this for Reign of Fury and for Chains of Destiny. We sing it in Japanese as a bonus track for Japan. So there's a lot of work behind that.
And is it very hard for Giacomo to sing on those different languages?
Not really. I must say he's really fluent with different languages. And Japan, as hard it may seem, it's really easy to sing for an Italian, and Spanish, of course, as well, and French, kind of doable, and it's really fun. It's really we love to do it, you know.
And why not adding a Portuguese version of it?
We should consider that in the future. Yes, we should consider that.
I'm looking forward to that. This is also the first album with Paolo Marquesic on the drums, making it your third different drummer in your three last studio albums. What led to this constant drummer change?
Well, maybe some luck, or maybe some luck, because I feel very lucky with Paolo now. Actually, Paolo was one of the chosen one at the end. And when I had to choose between Paolo, Manu, and some other guys, at the end I had a feeling that Manu was the right guy, and it was for a certain period of time. But when Manu decided to move on, I immediately thought about Paolo, because I didn't know him personally, but Roby De Micheli and Alessandro Sala, they knew him, and they also played together in the past. So, and the guy is a sweetheart, you know. It's really a wonderful guy, and very good drummer, and you know we get along very well. We are from the same town, so this is a different. It's a completely different scenario here, you know, because we are talking about that we are from the same town, we share the same dialects, we share the same, a lot of the same, we share the same background, and so that's why I hope that this lineup will endure, you know. So it's important, you know. I want stability, you know. So, but.
And for the first time in a long period of time, you have all musicians from Italy.
Yes.
Is it a thing that you wanted to do, or just happened?
No, not really. I just like to pick the best musicians, but it's what's strange, and now I don't have to write in English anymore in our group chats because I was always used to write in English because one member or two members. So now it feels strange to write in Italian, but it's something I like, you know, because as I said, we are from the same town, and Giacomo is Italian, of course, and despite I live in London, but you know, when the timing is right, we get together and we do what we have to do.
And you do it very well. In 2017, you replaced Fabio Leone with Giacomo Foli. In your opinion, which is the main asset that Giacomo brought to Rhapsody of Fire?
Well, first of all, it's not fair for anyone to compare singers because everybody has his own characteristic, pro and cons, or whatever. So it's Giacomo brought, in my opinion, some fresh air for sure, and a lot of people said that his English spelling is much better. It's you can really understand what he's saying, and this is something very important, especially when you export your product around the world. And well, Giacomo loves to sing different styles, in soft style, or in metal style, in rock style, or he can play with his vocals and with his vocal approach in many different ways. So this hasn't changed, you know. So we have the freedom to compose beautiful ballads, or you know, songs where he has to scream, or you know, many different sounds regarding the voice. And I record him myself, as I said, and we enjoy recording vocals, creating vocal harmonies, and arranging the choirs and everything. So there is a lot of work behind the vocals, and we are extremely passionate to do it. And he's a sweet guy, and it's a person I really like to spend time with. And this is also relevant, you know. It's very important for your mental health, for the health of the band, and for the, you know, the overall environment.
And in my opinion, after listening to Glory for Salvation over and over again, I do not miss Fabio Leone. I think Giacomo Foli has a very suitable voice for what you are doing right now. Yeah. Maybe even more than what Fabio had. And I suppose it was extremely hard to replace a singer that represented the band since its very beginning. What were your criteria at the time?
It was, you know, we did a lot of things since '97 with Luca, with Fabio. We really worked hard on every production, every album. We always did our best. Of course, as in every couple, in every band, in any community, there are different ideas. Sometimes there are frictions, sometimes there are fights. So despite that, we try to get along and to work these things out. And until a certain point, it was not possible to go on. And with Fabio was the same. It's at some point there was no dialogue. I mean, when there is no dialogue, there is nobody to speak with and to communicate with. So at some point, he decided quit. And of course, I understand for the fans, for some fans was something dramatic, but for me at the time, actually, it sounded like, yes, harsh, but at the same time, a nice stepping stone for the future, an opportunity. And I knew Giacomo Volli already because for Into the Legend, for the production of Into the Legend, I called him because I needed a strong choir. So I wanted to meet him because I saw him performing on TV actually. So I wrote him and I asked him if he wanted to join me in Trieste and if he knew some singers. And he happened to know because he is teaching, he has some students, so we gathered together and I had a chance to meet him. So after Fabio left, I waste no time. I just called Giacomo up and say, hey, can you come? Can we meet and discuss? And so now it's 5 years in the band already. And I don't look at the past anymore. I just look at the future. And I love the guy and we work very hard. And I think we achieved like a more modern sound. If you take in consideration the fact that we have a new singer and also the kind of mix we have, I think Rhapsody of Fire is really was brought into the future with these changes. More modern sound, for sure.
And you are taking your sound to a different level now with Glory for Salvation. If you had to rate all your albums, in which position would the Glory for Salvation be?
Oh well, it's a very hard question to do that, but I must say that this new saga really brought me a lot. And The Eight Mountains is a fantastic album, and Glory for Salvation is the perfect continuation of the story. And I'm sure the next one will be on the same level, if not superior. And I'm not saying this, out of ego or something, but it's just because I just work very hard and make sure that what I do really stands the test of time. At least this is what we like to do, We like to do music that we hope it will last more than a season, So this was always the approach since '97, to do music that people may like to listen in 10 years or 20 years. So I always try to do that, and hopefully it's going to work. Let's see. I do this music by passion, so I start writing music that I love, and hopefully also the fans will love it too.
And you have now almost 30 years of career under your belt. What can the fans still expect from you?
Well, for sure, what I want for me, for my band, for my music, for sure, is stability, passion, continuity, excitement, and continuing to create the best music we can, continue to create images to the ears of the listener, to bring the listener in our fantasy world. Epic tales and fantasy stories are always important. Even nowadays, you can see that the people love to watch fantasy series, epic series, and all of these series are carried by fantastic orchestral music. So this is what we like to do,
And that's what you will continue to do. Besides Rhapsody of Fire, are you included or are planning to include in other projects?
Well, it's a good question. Actually, I always wanted to, but Rhapsody of Fire takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I have a big calendar. I organize my future years in a way that I didn't do this in the past. So when you realize that you need some specific time to do specific tasks, you need months to do this, to compose, to prepare, to record and everything, then you realize that you should have started yesterday already to work, So that's the approach I have. I already started working on a new album. I have a lot of songs, and we discuss things with Robbie, and it's a way to work yourself out, and you start working. I like to start working a bit earlier, so I don't have to rush towards the end and become crazy and having to finish important tasks in a week instead of 3 months maybe. So I already started working because I want to, I really want to take the time to be sure that what we release, we are proud of it, and nothing is left, on the side. Everything has to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist, so for that reason, I feel safe in a way.
And now, in 2017, Helloween announced their reunion. Are there any plans for Rhapsody to do a similar thing as Helloween did, to reunite with the main members?
I think it's different. I think it's different from Helloween. It's you cannot compare reunions between bands, and it's been 10 years since Luca Turilli and myself decided to separate ways. It's been 5 years that Fabio is not longer with Rhapsody of Fire. It's a lot of people decided to take different paths. Actually, we had a conversation, Luca Turilli and myself, about the reunion they wanted to do, and we could not agree basically on almost anything. So it didn't work, and it felt wrong for me since the very first time I heard this. So I didn't want to turn my back on Rhapsody of Fire, Robbie, or the other guys of the band, and Giacomo overall. I didn't feel confident to do it. Still, I evaluated the idea to see, I didn't say no at first. I just said, okay, let's talk about it and see how we could work this out. But at the end, we could not do it. And I'm happy I did not participate, because I'm not part of that group of people anymore. It's really, I wish them the best. And personally, with Luca, I know him since forever. So it's not about it's not a personal thing. It's about, I don't think that's serious. I cannot be serious, right? I mean, maybe I understand for some fans are stuck, or they like what we did in the past, and they may love to see that, but it's unrealistic. It feels wrong to me.
I totally understand, especially because Rhapsody of Fire have moved on from the
Yes.
sound they have made before. Now, how are your touring plans for this album? Is Portugal included there?
Well, Portugal is not included in the tour, but we are planning to do something to play in Portugal. And I have not official news I can release right now. I wish I had, but I will have soon, I hope. And we have this tour happening in between mid-January, mid-February. We are playing 30 dates around Europe. As you may have noticed, there are some problems around Europe right now. Maybe not so much in Spain and Portugal, but there's a lot of problems in Germany, in Holland, in France, a bit as well. So we have to see if we are able to keep this going. We hope we can still keep it up, and because we know we have some, a lot of fans waiting for it. But of course, we have to consider also if there are some risks. A lot of bands already they moved their tours. It's a sign, unfortunately, that something is still wrong around Europe and around the world. So let's hope we can keep that on.
It's really sad, because shows are one of the things that keep you alive as a band, and you and every other band. And I think every fan would like to see you live. And I'm looking forward to your show in Portugal if it happens. To conclude, would you like to send any message to your Portuguese fans?
Oh, yes. Well, it was kind of recent we played in Portugal. But I always enjoyed the place. Since the very first time we played in Portugal, I loved it, and I'm really looking forward to come back, not only to play, but because if we come to Portugal, it will be separate from the tour, and I love the idea to meet the Portuguese fan, of course, and to stay there for some days and visit places. I really want to feel, the country and, visit places. It's something that I really love to do. So I expect soon that we will release a news about a show in Portugal. Let's cross fingers.
Well, thank you, Alex. It was an honor.